Well, good morning. It's the 11th of February. It's a Monday morning. Oh, Monday morning blues. Here we come. Well, okay. Well, we're 6 minutes late this morning because tripping upstairs and getting everything going just took that extra bit of time. This is Rowser Radio, broadcasting out of Lewes in East Sussex. But broadcasting because of www. To many parts of the world, and welcome to those people, particularly those in North America who are on the West Coast, because they're still awake. It's only 10 o'clock at night there, and so some of them actually tune in after they've looked at the rubbish on television, and they think, what other rubbish is around, and they find us. But there we are. It's Rowser Radio, Keith Hayes, out of Lewes in East Sussex. And why are we here? Well, we are part of a little unit of watchdogs that are growing up to keep an eye on our local council, because I'm sorry to say, but it is totally inefficient and is starting to cost us far more money than it should, and it needs a watchdog. And with the shrinkage of local media, not all the media's fault, I may say, but with the shrinkage of local media, surveys find that inefficiency in councils sharply goes up, and so does the cost of it. In other words, the council tax. And certainly that is true of our region. And I say that our region because I don't just mean Lewes. We try to keep an eye from Battle to Brighton up to Gatwick and Tunbridge Wells, which covers more or less the whole of East Sussex. We have various correspondents in various towns, other parts of the world for that matter, and other parts of the country, and they all report the same thing. So Boris Johnson, the famous Boris Johnson, our former Foreign Secretary, and now a thorn in Theresa May's side in the House of Commons, gave a keynote speech a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we need a root and branch clear out. Since then, I've spoken to a couple of councillors from other parts of the country who say that their understanding is that a clear out is on the way. So perhaps Boris was just talking from some inside knowledge and just preparing everybody for the fact that we are and can expect great change. But we can actually have change in our own hands because for some reason, Lewes is out of step with the rest of the country. When the rest of the country is voting for local councils, we are not. And then 2 years later, we get our chance. Well, the 2 years is coming. And on May the 2nd, you can go and have your vote. And do ask questions of your district councillors, but also of the officials. Ask anything that you want. You won't get any answers, but ask, because then we can compile some of the things that we should talk to. I have been looking at various options for asking you, and there aren't many of you at the moment, but we are growing, asking you, the people in this district, an opinion poll, what you think of the current situation on the council. And also how you feel about change and whether change should be necessary, and indeed whether, in fact, the federal government, the national government, should step in and take over the running of not only ours but other councils who are showing inefficiency. They're always reluctant to do that. And perhaps that's very laudable because local democracy is terribly important. It's got to spread around the country. We don't want tough central government and no power out in the tentacles, which is the way the EU operates, and that's proving to be very contentious, as you can see and hear from all the stuff about whether we leave or we don't leave. Anyway, that's the reason that we're here, and that's the sort of things that we'll be looking at, and we value any comments that you may have. If you want to leave a comment, you can go to miradorlewis.com. No, the email is info@miradorlewis.com, I believe. Yes, anyway, you'll find it on the web if you look up Mirador. If you look up miradortelevision.com, the email for you to make comment is there. We'd only be too happy to listen to what you have to say. as I say, we're quite small. The audience is quite small. It is growing, and I'm happy that it is growing. That's why we're here, to eventually represent you in every way that we possibly can. And I'm just looking here because we looked up some different music over the weekend, and I hope that some of it is here, but perhaps it went on to another system. Who knows? Anyway, let's see what we've got. We will play another track from that wonderful duo out of New Haven, Dandelion Charm, because they had an extremely successful charity do in Hove on Friday night. It was jammed. Reports say that there was an air of excitement. It was crackling with tension as they and other people gave a brilliant performance. So all in all, we pushed that, and I hope that perhaps we had a little bit of success or a little bit of contribution in the success of that night. So we will play a Dandelion Charm. But anyway, let's what have we got here? Unknown Longing. Let's have an Unknown Long and see what happens there. Well, one thing that's going to happen is that it ain't going to play. Well, oh dear, there are a lot of things that are going to play. Let's go to Dandelion Charm and Birdcage. No, that's not going to play either. You might have to listen to me talking. It's... oh dear. This is the music that we normally play on the outside, but I punched the wrong button, so listen to it because it's rather fun, rather nice, and it's from Benson. Well, I hope that sort of gets you going the way it does me. It's just a nice little thing. It runs along. It's called Endless Motion, and probably what I'll do is I'll actually play out this morning with Dandelion Charm, since I've now played you Endless Motion. I've kicked myself and shot myself in the foot. But one thing that I think that head teachers across the country are going to face with a pupil strike. Thousands of school children are expected to absent themselves from school on Friday to take part in a series of protests drawing attention to climate change. Now, this is a very, very worthy cause of examination, and in fact, Lewis, where we're broadcasting from, in East Sussex, and this is Keith Hayes, let me mention that an ex-BBC head of environment, Alex Kirby, who lives in Lewis, runs a website and an information news agency on climate change. It's called Climate News Network, and he gathers climate news stories, good, bad, and indifferent. He's very fair about it, very even-handed. They're not all gloom and doom. Some of them are quite amusing sometimes, but he distributes them to sort of about 200 or so people, clients throughout the world, who can use them in their newspapers and on their radio stations and so on and so forth. Very worthy. And he does a very good job. And not only that, but he's fastidious. I like to think that perhaps he and I are alike, because while we're talking to small audiences to begin with, we got our shoulders down, we push the wheel very hard, and we are trying to make sure that eventually we grow something that is really worthwhile. Me, with local media, to try and keep our councils honest and true, which ain't very easy, believe me, and he to alert people to the very real problem of climate change. And whether you think that this is the green nutters or not, that's entirely up to you, but the fact is climate change is real. What the effects are debatable. Climate change is real. Anyway, thousands and thousands of school children are going on strike about climate change. And what worries me about this is if they're allowed to do it this time, then they'll find other reasons to go on strike. And suddenly what we'll have is pupil power and kids not going to school, finding every reason to go out and protest and march. I'm sure there are some responsible students that are trying hard to do what they believe is right, but these are the sort of things that get out of hand and get hijacked by those who simply just don't want to go to school, and they disrupt the rest. So I can't say that I support this particular issue. Sorry, kids, but there you are. You want to go on strike? Go on strike on a Saturday. Don't go and play sports or something. But don't interrupt your education, because you'll regret it later in life. Okay, it's only one day, you may say. But then it may grow into 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. If this sort of thing is allowed to carry on, that's what happens. Once the snowball starts going down the hill, it starts to increase in size and intensity. And then it'll become totally disruptive, and we'll have a generation of ill-educated children. We've got a generation in charge now. We don't want another one. Stay in school, kids. Help us all out. Anyway, that's a strike by children throughout the country. There is a news story that the HSL scheme, which is the high-speed train scheme from